Something big just happened, and they ain't even pulling out the news. So let's not drop the beans. Let's not spill the turkey neck juice. But I'm about to tell you basically what's been happening just the last hours, and basically they don't want to release any footage of any of this. So I got reports in, and I'm about to get it to you on information. All right. So first off, I had to go and look. Right, I got reports in right here from email update from my sister-in-law. She confirmed with an employee she knows at the base command center that it's not a test, it's a drill. They're under attack. Don't know how large or small. We'll keep you posted. So here's the thing, and people were saying that tanks was out. I'm not sure if the tanks was armed. I'm not sure what type of tank it was or whatever. If it had a turret on it or not. Not sure. But I'm going to go into a deeper aspect of what's going on here. They closed roads and everything for this specific event. So it's funny though that Nevada Air Guard has activated for firefighting efforts, but it's something else that was detailed right here that I got information of that pretty much wasn't detailed by the official reports put out. Now remember, keep in mind, no footage of this at all. And keep in mind, we just went through a lot of hack attacks and everything else. So let's go into this information right now. So basically it said traffic alert US 95 at M119 Creek is shut down in both directions due to police activity. Utilize alternate routes. Drive safe. Lives are on the line. So this came from NHP Southern Command. So Nevada, pretty much Southern Command put out the information about this situation. And so whenever I got back into the reports, it said update. She has confirmed a bomb threat on the base and airspace violations near the base. Schools in the area are on lockdown. So this basically all transpired today, where we get to have no footage about any of this at all. So I'm updating you on this because as we see the events loom up, don't let it scare you to death. And, oh my God! I'm just saying, like, this is what's happening. And it's basically probably classified on the information. They supposedly went to residents' doors and told them to stay inside. I'm gonna read that report too. It says, urgent FYI, this was an email I got. Urgent FYI, just got a message from my sister-in-law who lives in Indian Springs, Nevada, that people are going door to door asking them to stay indoors. She says tanks there are everywhere. So again, supposedly tanks everywhere. But what's the new update? I want to take you into the new update that they pretty much put out. And I try to go to the local news, but they wouldn't even say anything much. Authorities reopen highway near Creech Air Force Base after police closure. So here's the information. This just came out. Authorities in southern Nevada have reopened highway Monday afternoon near an Air Force base located outside of Las Vegas after police activity closed it earlier. Just afternoon, the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department originally reported that the U.S. was closed in both directions near Creech Air Force Base in Indian Springs for police activity. And it says it's shut down in both directions. Obviously, they have opened back up now. This was about a military base. Nothing else has came out. So reportedly, people went to doors and said, stay inside, there's tanks or whatever out there. And this is the current situation. It says the Nevada Highway Patrol was also assisting in the investigation. So officials say the highway was then reopened around 1:45, but have not released immediate information as to what caused the police activity or closure of the highway near the base. Now, supposedly they're saying it was an air threat violation. That's the information I got in. I can't 100% confirm it, but the person who knew somebody in Nevada basically has said that in the information, and it wasn't a drill. So, wanted to put that out. Like I said, just remember, always be prepared, always be ready. And if you were in the Nevada area and you had any footage of that, leave links to it below, because later on maybe we'll have some footage come out and we'll get more information on the situation, and I'll be the one to let that information out. So you want to subscribe, you want to click the bell to get more information here. And then look, picture this app. Remember, picture this, get the picture of this app. Go ahead and just get the edible plants. Go ahead and get everything you need. And just remember, stay calm, stay spiritually aware, and just get this information out and let people know and ask around so we can find out more about this information. That's why it's good to put this information out so more of us can know what the heck is going on. Hopefully we get lots of people sharing this to people in Nevada so we can hear more from that side. That's what I would like to hear. So thanks for tuning in. We're just here to give out the information. Remember, always be prepared for any event and any time. And then the solar panels and everything is going to be very important, because a dependent society is a society that falls easily. But if you're not dependent, then you don't have to fall as easily. And remember to always keep spiritual upbringing first, not fear. Thanks for
One of the Army's top armored vehicle modernization generals said Wednesday that the service would be needed to face down China's massive armored force in a Pacific land war. China has 7,000 tanks and 3,000 infantry fighting vehicles, so 10,000 vehicles that will be decisive if we are not there. Major General Richard Kaufman, director of the Army's Next Generation Combat Vehicle Cross-Functional Team, told an audience at a Center for Strategic and International Studies event. In order to be decisive, we have to be there with armor to prevent the Chinese from getting into a position of relative advantage, he added. Kaufman is not the first general to defend the Army's relevance in the Pacific, a theater that many experts say is more suited for the Navy and the Marine Corps.
Taiwan's foreign minister is sounding the alarm now. Taiwan's foreign minister is sounding the alarm now. He says the self-governed island needs to prepare for military conflict with China. This comes 1 week after Taiwan reported the largest daily incursion by Chinese military planes into the island's self-declared air defense identification zone. Joining me right now is the Atlas Organization founder. He is the author of China's Vision of Victory, Jonathan Ward. Jonathan, it's good to have you this morning. Always a pleasure to see you. Your reaction to this, look, we know that China wants to reunify Taiwan, and anybody who says anything about Taiwan being its own independent country gets the backlash from the Chinese Communist Party. Your thoughts on what you're hearing now from Taiwan officials? They need to be prepared for conflict, they say, with the CCP.
Good morning, Maria. It's good to be back. Well, absolutely, they need to be prepared. I mean, this is going to be the centerpiece of deterrence in the Pacific. I mean, absolutely, they need to be prepared. I mean, this is going to be the centerpiece of deterrence in the Pacific.
Dealing with enemies and prisoners, and I've heard stories of beheadings. It's tough ways of dealing with enemies and prisoners, and I've heard stories of beheading. It's tough ways of dealing with enemies and prisoners, and I've heard stories of beheadings. Some horrible stuff. He was charming to me. It doesn't erase out of all his crimes. I'm Sumi Sojourni. I'm a photographer based in Uganda, and I mostly focus on photojournalism, documentary photography, especially to do with gender issues and society. The South Sudanese civil war broke out in 2013 as a result of a political crisis, which then turned into tribalism with the two main tribes in the country, the Nuer and the Dinka. So we have the SPLA, who is the South Sudanese government, and they're mostly representing the Dinka tribes. And then you have the SPLA-IO, so SPLA in opposition, which was the defecting soldiers from the main army, and those were representing mostly Nuer tribe, which is the largest tribe in South Sudan. When I was there, I was with the rebels. There had been no journalists that had been able to cross with SPLA-IO until we did. So this photo, it was in Panyume base camp, where there was a parade of soldiers getting ready for the front line. You know, everybody was kind of showing off their guns. There was no coordination in uniform because, again, it's a rebel base, right? So you got some guys in flip-flops, you got some guys in shorts. But I think everybody, there was such an intense atmosphere in the way that everybody was really happy and everybody was dancing, and there was a lot of power.
You had a great op-ed yesterday. I mean, It was a depressing op-ed, but it was
not a.
I think it was an important op-ed talking about Afghanistan. Who could have seen it coming if we let them know we were going to retreat and get out of Afghanistan? That the Taliban would actually take advantage of it and start killing people left and right.
Joe, it's happened so quickly. President Biden announced back in April that he'd be pulling all U.S. troops, not many left, 2,500, out by September 11, and across the country there's just been a domino effect. More than 50 districts have fallen since May 1, and there is a sense in Afghanistan now, talking to old friends there, of real demoralization. The fear is that full-scale civil war will break out again. The fear is that full-scale civil war will break out again.
Milley's comments were shocking, but not to the media, who sees where political power currently resides.
Milley delivered a sermon on anti-racism and pro-intellectualism.
It was great to hear the general reinforce the point that more people need to learn, people need to actually educate themselves. It was so bracing, it was so encouraging.
General Milley ought to be applauded not only today, but every single day that he goes to work.
Joining me now, independent journalist Glenn Greenwald. Glenn, I mean, now I've seen it all. I've seen the far left and liberals and phony conservatives now come to the military's defense, even when the military appears to be getting very, very political. Your reaction to all of this?
Well, first of all, when as journalists do we celebrate the military, and not just anyone in the military, but the top military official, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, weighing in on extremely polarizing cultural and political debates and applauding him for doing so? It's exactly what we want the military not to do. Secondly, the question about why would the military suddenly embrace what is essentially leftist cultural dogma, not something we're accustomed to seeing the military do over the last 7 or 8 decades, to put that mildly, is, I think, a really interesting question. And if you look, Laura, at what the military posture is under the Biden administration, they very much want to initiate a new war on terror, one that's aimed domestically, and their identified enemy are not ISIS or Al-Qaeda or Russia or China or anything like that. They say the gravest threat to national security are domestic extremists, and specifically white supremacists. So by embracing this kind of doctrine that says that white supremacy is pervasive throughout the society, what that general is really doing is justifying this domestic war on terror, as all of these journalists applaud him for doing so. It's really quite an amazing spectacle.
Yeah, well, and going through social media, they've already said that they have to do that in order to tamp down on domestic terror and extremism. When they use such a broad term, that's frankly meaningless. The word extremism, what does that mean? Extreme to whom? On what basis? What are their objective metrics for determining extremism? And you see these MSNBC hosts kind of like, oh, this is so great. Like they're like the Bobby Soxers of 2021 with Milley. By the way, CNN, it's not going to surprise you, is justifying General Milley's comments with another general. Watch.
He's faced with extremism in the ranks. He's faced with an enemy that is based on white rage. So what he's doing is studying them. He's trying to get to know the enemy. And he said this, what caused this white rage? How do you define it, and how do you eliminate it from within the military ranks?
And I guess white people are the only ones who can get enraged these days. And I can't even believe I'm hearing these words come out of former military, current military. Now the enemy is us, meaning the people.
Well, I think it's a key point. You know, I think a lot of people who cheered for the war on terror and the immediate aftermath of 9/11 came to understand that when you vest immense power in the hands of the government in the name of fighting a war that's very amorphous against terrorism, it can lead to a lot of abuses, and it's very hard to end it once it begins. Now we're talking about doing exactly the same thing, but this time directed inward at our own citizenry. And there are very few things more dangerous, as you say, than empowering the government to wage a domestic war against its own citizenry without extremely restrictive constraints on who they're targeting. And all they're saying is, we're going after extremists, and not just extremists, but white extremists in particular. And the other really disturbing part is General Barry McCaffrey, who's a 4-star general who now works at NBC News, came on and said your colleague Tucker Carlson, other people at Fox News, including yourself, who criticized General Milley, ought to be fired immediately, as though now it's off limits to even critique military officials, I suppose in the name of democracy. But these people who have babbled about fascism for 5 years are now cheering generals, demanding that journalists be fired for the crime of criticizing generals when they intervene in our politics. It's a really disturbing.
Is historic. This is historic data. Truly amazing. So give it a thumbs up, like that video, make sure that your notifications and your subscriptions to this channel are in place. All right, folks? And listen, when it comes to this heat wave, if you are experiencing anything related to this heat wave, use your head, use precaution, okay? Prepare for it. Whatever you need to do. What I worry about is the power outages, the effects on our electrical grid. Because when the power goes out, you don't have air conditioning. You don't have any way to run a fan. So try to have a little plan, be safe out there, and make sure you all stay tuned to Planet X News. Be safe, folks. Take care. I'll see you soon.